Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing well. What we're watching now, or what you're watching now, is a video on thesis statements. So, this video on thesis statements corresponds with week 3 and thus unit 3, but the information you learn here can be applied to all of the units. Thesis statements, as you'll learn, are extremely important and must be present in every single essay that you write. Now, some of your thesis statements will look a little bit different depending on what you're writing. In Unit 3, if I'm not mistaken, that's the one where you write a personal essay and they talk about implied thesis statements. So that thesis statement is not going to look like the type of thesis statement you would write in Unit 6. And in Unit 2, the response paragraph asks you to write a thesis statement. But that thesis statement, again, is going to look very different from the thesis statement you would write in Unit 3 or the thesis statement you would write in like Units 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So what we're really going to focus on is that most common type of thesis statement that you will find in Units 4 through 10. And at the end of this lesson, I will talk about some different types of thesis statements you might run into. But again, I'm going to focus on like that most commonly found thesis statement, the thesis statement that you've probably been learning about since middle school, whether you remember it or not. I'm sure something in this lesson will seem a little bit familiar. Okay, so this first slide you're seeing here that says the parts of an essay, title, intro, body, and concluding paragraph. The next several lessons that you're going to watch are going to delve into the different parts of an essay. But again, in today's video, we're going to just focus on the thesis statement because that is the roadmap of your essay. The thesis statement, it appears in the introductory paragraph, as you can see here. The intro contains a hook, background information, and a thesis statement. But I really like isolating the thesis statement to its own lesson because it's so important and because of its importance. A lot of students tend to stress out over it and make it a little bit more difficult than it is. So that's what we'll be doing today. And in the next lesson, we'll look at introductory paragraphs as a whole, okay? So the thesis statement is typically 1 or 2 sentences at the end of the introductory paragraph in an essay. Now again, with the way NROC asks you to write the first drafts, you have specific boxes. So you're not going to have to decide for yourself where your thesis statement goes, at least not in the earlier units, because NROC will tell you where your thesis statement goes. Now, as the units progress, instead of breaking up the introductory paragraph into like 3 boxes, the intro paragraph will be its own box, say in Unit 10. So, but you will already have the time and practice to understand like this is where the hook goes, the background information goes, and the thesis statement goes without being told by the separate boxes. But I still want to stress that the thesis statement, first of all, is usually 1 sentence. If you're writing a more complicated essay, sometimes your thesis statement can be 2 sentences. But for the purposes of our class, at least for the first 5 units, your thesis statement should only be 1 sentence, and it should be the last sentence at the end of the introductory paragraph in your essay. The thesis statement states the subject of your essay, the claim the author is making about the subject and the points the author is utilizing to support that claim. So the thesis statement is the writer's way of letting their audience know, this is what my essay is about, this is what I'm arguing about that subject, and this is how I'm going to support my argument. And that is a preview of the entire essay. Okay, so don't confuse topic sentences and thesis statements. Thesis statements tell you what the entire essay is about, whereas a topic sentence tells you what a particular body paragraph is going to be about, okay? And we're going to talk more about topic sentences and the differences between thesis statements and topic sentences in not the next lesson, but the one after that, I think. So, but I just want you to keep in mind the thesis statement tells you what the entire essay is about, and the topic sentence tells you what one body paragraph is about, okay? So here I have an example of a thesis statement. Reading daily is important because it reinforces critical thinking skills, helps people become better writers, and it improves memory function. So if you remember from this slide, the thesis statement contains a subject, a claim, and 3 points of support. So what we're going to do with this thesis statement is break it down so that we can identify the subject, the claim, and 3 points of support. So first, our subject is reading. So from the thesis statement, we can tell that the essay as a whole will be about reading. Now, thesis statements should make an argument. They should not simply pose a fact. So we can't say, reading is something you do with a book. Like, there's no argument there. But we can make an argument that reading daily is important, because there could be many people out there who do not agree with that. And because that's something we agree with, according to this thesis statement, like, there's an argument there and we need to support that argument, okay? And the way we're going to support the argument that reading daily is important is through 3 points of support, which are reinforces critical thinking skills, helps people become better writers, and improves memory function. So what we kind of did here was reverse outlined our thesis statement. So when you reverse outline something, that means you've already written something, and maybe you want to revise it or make sure you have all of the pieces of the puzzle that you need in order to achieve a successful paper. And that's what we did here. We have our thesis statement already written, and we need to make sure that we have the subject, the claim, and 3 points of support. So we reverse outlined it in this manner. You could also use this outline of subject, claim, support to put together a thesis statement. Let's pretend we don't have a thesis statement yet. And in order to put together a thesis statement, we will just write down our subject, which is reading. And then we'll make a claim that reading daily is important. And then we'll come up with 3 points of support for why reading daily is important. And then all you have to do is just mush that together to form a sentence. Okay? So what I recommend doing when you're writing your thesis statements for your essays in NROC is, maybe you're having trouble coming up with the thesis statement. Well, then start from here. Just write down your subject like as a bullet point, your claim as a bullet point, and your points of support as a bullet point, or as 3 bullet points, and then you can put them together. Or perhaps it was not problematic for you to come up with the thesis statement, but you want to and need to double check that you have your subject, claim, and 3 points of support. And you can break it down like this, and then see if it matches everything that it needs to match. Like, maybe you realize, oh, I'm missing a claim, and you can go back and revise your thesis statement so that you have a claim. Okay, so for you, brainstorming a thesis statement, you're not starting from scratch as much as you would in like English 111. So in English 002, and I've said this in previous videos, but in English 002, you're given prompts. Like you're basically asked to pick a certain side. Like in Unit 4, if I'm not mistaken, is about social media and whether or not social media is a friend or a foe. Meaning, is social media good for society or is social media bad for society? And like you have to pick a side. So that kind of allows you to come up with your subject and the claim you're going to make about your subject like pretty easily, okay? But it's up to you to come up with your own points of support, and you still have to have like an idea of what you're actually trying to say about that topic. So, using that example of social media being a friend or a foe. So when you're brainstorming a thesis statement, you're supposed to come up with your topic. Again, your topics are pretty much given to you. So let's just say our topic is social media. And then what are we trying to say about that topic? So first we have to decide whether or not we think social media is a friend or a foe. And, you may think one way. Like you may think social media is a positive thing for society, but then you start writing your essay and find, or like putting together your thesis statement even, and finding it difficult for you to come up with 3 reasons why social media is positive for society. And if you find that you're having trouble doing that, or like coming up with points of support for your thesis statement regardless of the topic and the claim, you may want to review and rethink your position on the topic. So maybe you're thinking like, oh yeah, social media is positive, but then when you're actually asked to sit there and really think about it and formulate an academic argument about it, you may discover that, hey, wait a minute, actually, I don't think social media is all that great for society. That's why it's important for you to say to yourself, articulate to yourself, why is this topic important? Why is this worth writing about? And again, that may be a little bit hard or maybe even a little bit corny for you to do when you're essentially given your topics. But it'll be easier for you to write on a topic that's given to you if you are able to determine like why this topic is important. Maybe it's not important to you, but like think about why it could be important to society at large, whether that's like local, national, international, okay? And then from there you can come up with a thesis statement, a tentative thesis statement. So this is like all of these steps. What is your topic? What are you trying to say about your topic? Why is this topic important? These are things you need to do before you even sit down and write down anything remotely resembling a thesis statement, okay? So let's take this brainstorming list here and put it to a different topic. So let's just say I want to write about vacations. And so that's what I'm going to write about. My topic is going to be about vacations. But what do I want to say about vacations? What do I want to get across to my audience? Because you could say and write about so many things within the realm of vacations. So what do I want to say? Okay? And what I want to write about is what makes a good vacation spot. But then when I start thinking about why is this topic important, why is it important to write about vacations, I start to think like, okay, well, vacations are expensive and maybe not accessible to a lot of people, but they should be. So let's think about why vacations are expensive and what people can do in order to make vacations more affordable. So then down here, this final block, I have my tentative thesis statement. Today's vacations can be expensive, so a family needs to plan ahead to find the right vacation place for them with the right price for them. So here I have my subject, vacation, or vacations, my claim, vacations are expensive, and my support. A family needs to plan ahead to find the right vacation place with the right price for them. Now, if you remember at the beginning of this video, I talked about the different types of thesis statements that exist. And also at the beginning of this video, I've harped on the fact that a thesis statement should contain at least 3 points of support. But you're going to find those traditional thesis statements that look like this or this. Those are going to be, you're going to write those more for units 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Your thesis statements for units 1, 2, and 3 may look a little bit like this, where there's 1 point of support. But this 1 point of support is very general, it's very broad, which means it can be broken down to become a larger, or to be more compatible with a larger essay, okay? So when you're writing your essays and your thesis statements for units 4 through 10, you need to make sure your thesis statements have a subject, claim, and 3 points of support. But again, your thesis statements for units 1, 2, and 3 may look a little bit like this, or more like this, where you have just 1 point of support, but it's a very broad point of support that can be explored in greater detail throughout the essay. So that's what I'm kind of doing here with comparing these thesis statements. I have reading daily is important because it reinforces critical thinking skills, helps people become better writers, and it improves memory function. Subject, claim, 3 points of support. And then today's vacations can be expensive, so a family needs to plan ahead to find the right vacation place with the right price for them. Subject, claim, 1 point of support, but again, this 1 point of support can be broken up into a lot more detailed pieces throughout the essay, throughout the body of the essay. So this reading daily is an important thesis statement is something you'll be writing for units 4 through 10, and this vacation thesis statement is going to be a thesis statement that you put together for units like 1 through 3. So this is what I mean by breaking up this broad point, single broad point of support into more detail. Okay, so we're saying that vacations can be expensive, so a family needs to plan ahead to find the right vacation place for them with the right price for them. And so here's like how I'm going to break that up throughout my essay. I'm going to write about creating a vacation budget in one body paragraph. And then in another body paragraph, I'm going to select the best times to travel. I'm going to write about making a list of places to visit, about identifying ways to save money. Okay, so this single point of support can be really like blown up within the essay itself. Okay, because putting all of these points of support in a single thesis statement, it can become too cluttered and confusing. So that's again like kind of what I wanted to say for this like English 002 thesis statement disclaimer. So this is a screenshot of the response paragraph you'll be writing for Unit 2, where you wrote the summary for the Jocelyn Fong essay, and then in the second body paragraph, you're asked to write a response to it. So your thesis statement for this particular paragraph is going to look more like this one, the vacation thesis statement, okay? Because this thesis statement that they're asking you to write here is really only for one essay, or excuse me, one paragraph, so you're not going to really need to have a ton of points of support in here, because again, the thesis statement tells your audience what your entire essay is about, rather than a particular paragraph. So, which is another thing I want to say about this particular response paragraph in Unit 2. So, they're labeling this box as thesis, but really it's a topic sentence. So, I don't know, I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase this, but I'm not a huge fan of NROC in the earlier units. I don't really like how they label some of the boxes, because to me this is confusing. A thesis statement is commonly described as the roadmap of your essay. I spent a lot of time in this video, at the beginning of this video, explaining the differences between a thesis statement and a topic sentence. Again, the topic sentence, as you know from previous lessons, the topic sentence is what the topic sentence tells the reader what this particular body paragraph is about. And the thesis statement informs the topic sentence. So the thesis statement tells the reader, this is what this body paragraph is going to be about. So if we go to this thesis statement right here, reading daily is important because it reinforces critical thinking skills. So that first point of support reinforces critical thinking skills. That's what your first body paragraph is going to be about. Helps people become better writers. That's what your second body paragraph is going to be about. And it improves memory function. Memory function that's what your third body paragraph is going to be about. And your topic sentence will say something about, the topic sentence for your first body paragraph will be say something like, reading every day it is extremely important to read every day because it helps foster one's critical thinking skills. Okay, so you could see how the thesis statement informs a topic sentence, but that's not really what's happening here. So I really want you to think of this box for Unit 2 essay as your topic sentence, okay? And this is really the only the only unit essay that gets a little bit weird with that and confusing with the labeling. So that's also why these tip boxes are important, because it lets you know what each box is supposed to be doing for that particular essay, okay? But that's the general overview of what a thesis statement is. And I will talk about thesis statements a little bit more in the next lesson when we talk about introductory paragraphs as a whole. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out, and good luck.